Hello, this is Rachel from the Shades of Orange. Today I want to review Tales from a Talking Board, which is edited by Ross E. Lockhart. This is a horror short story anthology that I requested from the publisher Word Horde. As the title suggests, this entire collection is themed around Ouija boards, which is the whole reason I requested it, because personally I find Ouija boards incredibly creepy. I grew up being told that monsters and ghosts were all fake, but I was always warned not to play around with Ouija boards just in case I accidentally summoned a demon. So given that background, I knew this story collection would be right up my alley, and I was absolutely correct. It was a blast to read. The thing about short story anthologies is that it's written by a handful of different writers, so it's hard to talk about them as a whole. But what I'm going to say is that this collection has a great range. One thing that can be really difficult with a very specific theme like Ouija boards is that I worried that the collection might be a little bit repetitive. However, that was not the case with this one. Some of the stories did take the classic trope of the kids playing around with a Ouija board and things going wrong, which were actually some of my favorites in the collection, but other authors took really creative left field approaches to the topic. They took the concept of the Ouija board and just went in a really interesting direction. So I found each of the stories very interesting, very different, and I also think there's something here for just about every kind of horror reader. Some of the short stories were very dark and gruesome and gritty, while other ones were much more light, entertaining, and I would safely give to someone who doesn't read as much horror. Of the 14 authors, I thought they were all very strong writers, and I definitely think there is a short story in this collection for just about everyone. Now I just want to briefly tell you about 4 of my favorite stories in the collection. The first being YesNoGoodbye by Kristi Demeester. This is a classic story of 2 young best friends that are messing around with a Ouija board. This story has some great LGBT representation because one of the girls identifies as a lesbian and is attracted to her best friend. So mixed into this horror story is her attraction and dealing with these feelings. The story was just so compelling. I was immediately pulled into the narrative, and it was just so well written, and I just loved it. It was the first story in the collection and really started off the whole anthology on such a strong note. I really do recommend that one. Next, I have to talk about Deep Into the Skin by Matthew M. Bartlett, and this was easily one of the darkest, most grisly and gruesome stories in the collection, which you know I absolutely love. This story is about a man who works as a tattoo artist, and he is coerced into sketching a Ouija board onto a woman, and what transpires is just so dark. There are some memorable, gritty moments in this story, and I just could not stop thinking about it when it was done. Wow, this was easily the most visceral, gritty story, and I just loved it. I would love to see more hardcore fans of horror reading this one because I think it was just so much fun if you're into that kind of dark stuff, which obviously I am. Now, switching gears to something much lighter, I also want to recommend Questions and Answers by David Templeton, and this was a really creative twist on the classic Ouija board story. This story is told about the other side of the Ouija board. So there is a school where dead people are trained how to be board operators, and the story was just so out of the box. It was so fun. I would not describe it as scary at all. It's something that I would very safely put into just about anyone's hands. It's just simply a good story. If anything, I describe it as heartwarming, but I just thought it was brilliant and wonderful and really put a smile on my face. I definitely recommend that one. I think just about everyone will enjoy that story. Finally, I want to mention May You Live in Interesting Times by Nadia Bulkin. This story had some fantastic, diverse elements. The author herself is of Indonesian descent, and the story takes place in Malaysia and really delves into the political and social economic issues of that place. And within the story is a young man who goes with his girlfriend to meet with some of her friends, and like you would expect, they decide to play around with a Ouija board. The story is dark and so gripping, and I don't want to say too much about it, but trust me, it's fantastic, and I just definitely recommend that one. It was so good. So as you can hopefully tell, I really did enjoy this collection and would recommend it. I think it's going to appeal to people who are fans of horror, as well as it is accessible for people who are newer to the genre and looking to pick up some creepy, dark stories this time of year. I absolutely love short stories when it comes to horror, and this was just a fantastic example of that. As always, if you have any questions, comments, leave them down below, and I will talk to you again soon in another video. Thanks for watching. Okay, bye.